Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 43-year-old Oregon resident Richard Harris had viewed a document on his phone the night before the Capitol attack. It was titled Reclaiming a Superpower, and it stated, quote, "The time for auditing the 2020 U.S. presidential election has passed." The author of the document wrote that there were three options that they had. A was contingent election for U.S. president. B was accept obvious corruption in the United States government. Or C, war, government trial. On January 6th, Harris marched to the Capitol with the mob, and he was heard saying, quote, "Pence said he would not block. He would not block Biden's electors. They're storming the fucking Capitol now." So Harris approached officers on the Capitol grounds, and in a video that he recorded, Harris was seen and heard saying, quote, "They tear gassed us. Front fucking line, baby. We're storming the Capitol." So he cheered on others who were breaching a police line. And then less than 2 minutes after the initial breach of the building, Harris was seen on surveillance video entering the Capitol. He entered through those Senate wing doors where the initial breach took place. He moved with the mob. He moved into the Capitol crypt. And he joined in the siege against the outnumbered officers in that area. One officer put up his arm in front of himself, and in front of Harris to protect himself from the assault that he assumed was coming. Well, Harris was seen taking a fighting stance against this officer. He put up his fists and held them up to his shoulders. And a short time later, the mob surged forward, and then they began pushing the police backwards. And that officer testified at trial that he believed Harris was pushing directly against him. And he said, quote, "I found it difficult to breathe. I had no control over my extremities. I was unable to put protective covering over my firearm. I was completely at the mercy of this crowd and their surge and attempts to push past us." So this officer ended up with a broken finger, and it's attributed to this specific attack in the Capitol crypt on January 6th. So the police retreated at this point, and so Harris starts pursuing this officer. He follows him around the corner. He gets in the officer's face and he's pointing at him, and he screamed, quote, "Stand down. You're outnumbered. There's a fucking million of us out there. And we are listening to Trump, your boss." Also, he screamed, quote, "We tried to vote. We tried to vote. Stand down." Well, after forcing his way past multiple police lines, Harris entered various areas of the Capitol, and the prosecutor said he climbed on at least 5 different statues. Even other members of the mob were admonishing him and begging him to stop disrespecting the Capitol and to stop damaging property. And Harris said to them, quote, "We're being tear gassed. I don't know if you noticed," as if that's an excuse. Right, for destroying the Capitol and everything in it. And this part, you guys are likely to remember if you've seen videos taken inside the Capitol. This is the guy who was seen on video. He picked up a Capitol Police phone line, like a landline, and he was yelling into the phone. He was pretending he was speaking to someone, and he said, quote, "Can I speak to Pelosi? Yeah, we're coming, bitch. Oh, Mike Pence, we're coming for you too, fucking traitor." So Harris then headed to an area where there was an atrium that was open to the floor below. And when he heard another person criticizing a journalist, and to the journalist's face, Harris said, quote, "Let's throw him over. Throw him over." Harris was then seen grabbing an officer's baton in another area. He was yanking on it, and they said that he pulled the baton with so much force that he dragged the officer forward several feet and into the mob. So the officer had to be saved, basically. Another officer had to step in to help him get away from the mob and gain control of his weapon. And then finally, after nearly 1.5 hours in the building, Harris was forced out of the Capitol. But he remained on the Capitol grounds, as so many of them did, for some time. So Harris was arrested on March 5th of 2021, and in a superseding indictment, he was charged with assaulting officers, obstructing an official proceeding, civil disorder, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, 2 counts of physical violence, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol. Harris refused a plea deal. He opted for a bench trial. And in June of 2023, he was convicted on all counts. Based on the obstruction conviction, Harris was facing up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. And this time, the prosecutors requested a decent sentence. They asked for nearly 6 years. They asked for 70 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And you will not be shocked to find out he has a criminal history, including taking part in a December 21st riot at the Oregon State Capitol, also due to Trump's election fraud lies. Harris was seen at that event. He was pulling on the locked doors. He was trying to break into that Capitol. And then he was seen shoving a journalist. He shoved him 2 times and he threatened him. He said, quote, "Better fucking leave." And he took a picture of himself flipping off an officer because, back the blue and all that other hypocritical BS that these patriots spew out of their pie holes. Anyway, Harris was arrested. He was charged with harassment for his assault on the journalist, although the prosecutor didn't say what the punishment was for that crime. But they also mentioned his prior criminal history, but they didn't share any of the details. I'm assuming they, put it in another document. And Harris has absolutely no remorse for his crimes. In June of 2023, June of this year, Harris gave an online interview, and he and the host made him out to be a victim. Basically, he's a victim of political persecution, as if he did nothing wrong. Well, U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols presided over Harris' case, and I couldn't locate any details about what was said at the sentencing hearing, but the judge ended up sentencing Harris to 41 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and a $605 special assessment fee. So this is pretty typical for this judge. He's a Trump appointee. He's somewhat fair, though, I will say, but he is the judge who doesn't seem to know the meaning of a semicolon, because he dismissed a charge of obstructing an official proceeding against another person, against another January 6th defendant. He claimed, it's not applicable to these January 6 cases because there's no document. They didn't take a document or destroy a document. His decision was ultimately overturned by an appeals court. So that goes to show you what he knows. Anyway, it's still making its way through the courts, but I have a feeling it's going to stand. So yeah, kind of weak, but like I say for Dabney Friedrich, this is the best we could hope for with this judge. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video, share it with everyone you know, become a subscriber and a donor if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.